I've been having thoughts about this for the past couple of weeks, and I just wanted to sort of share them. So I was raised very Christian. I've talked about that a couple of different times, but I basically was isolated within only Christian communities until the fourth grade when I was like forced to go to public school. Um, and so for the longest time, for context, I didn't understand that there were people who existed who didn't believe in God. I didn't have a good understanding of the fact that there were other religions, right? And I remember when I went to secular school, which is still the way that I think about it, um, I was shocked that there were people who had other religions, right? Like I may have understood that stuff like Judaism existed, but I didn't meet a Jewish person. I didn't know any Jewish people. I would actually say that I didn't really know very many Jewish people until I moved to the city 7 years ago. Um, a lot of what's happening right now reminds me of many of the conversations I had when I was in the church, especially when I was in private school. I remember growing up and we would talk so much about the end of the world. It was like one of the main topics of conversation. I remember we would watch Left Behind. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. The idea of the rapture was such a strong idea, such a strong thought. And it was really scary. It was really, really scary to think of, one day you're going to wake up and there's going to be like clothes on the ground because all the heavenly people have been raptured. And you're going to have the realization that you waited too long to repent. And I got to be honest, I think because of how I was raised, there's a lot of shit that is really, really hard to get out of my head. And when I watch what they're doing in this administration, it's really clear to me that they want to force a prophecy to happen, right? And they think that because they want to specifically have their specific power work their specific way, that, they can just kind of force it to happen, right? They can just kind of force it to happen. And it's aggravating because, now I'm sitting here as an atheist, like, oh my God. Why do we all have to suffer because you guys have this fucking mythology bullshit that you're like so obsessed with that you want everyone else to be obsessed with? It's really aggravating to exist in this world as, the other, right? And have the idea of your existence be argued as this forceful thing that you're trying to force on other people, right? And then from your experience in your life that religion was forced on you. So much of the shit that we're seeing right now is just the result of religion. Religion that has been used to fucking destroy the world. We would be so much further as a species without religion. And I have to be honest, I haven't really had a shift in my ideology in a really long time. And I think a lot of this stuff with Iran and Israel and just all of these religions dick measuring, it is really turning me into an anti-theist. My partner Nathan is anti-religion, and we always go back and forth about this because I was raised so Christian. It's hard for me to sometimes let go of that shit. And he was similarly raised basically in a cult like I was. And so, but he's also older than me. He's about 10 years older than me. So I think, but before I started filming this, I was watching Tucker Carlson's interview with, God, what is his name? Raphael, whatever his fucking name is. I'm so sick and tired of these motherfuckers. Oh my God. He was like, yeah, we've been directed by God to, we've been directed by God to, support Israel. And he was like, so what part of the Bible is that? And he was like, I don't know, but like, it's in there. Do you know what's hard about me being raised Christian and like watching this administration? It's so hard. It is so hard because you're like, these people aren't Christian. These people are not Christian. These people aren't Christian. These people are about as Christian as I am. You can just tell that they don't believe in the shit that they're saying. Everything they're doing is so opposite of what I was doing, right? I'm very curious, what my church is doing right now. Because, again, it was culty, but I bet my church is on the right side of history. Let me actually Google that right now before I get too confident about this. Okay, I just ended up like going in deep diving because apparently I used to belong to a church that was part of the evangelical free church, which was like apparently churches that they're evangelical, but they're not like necessarily part of the state. I don't know. I don't understand it, but no pro-Trumpian posts on any of the current pastors' pages, which is progress. But anyway, yeah, it's just so hard for me because like I look at these people and I know that they're saying religious shit. I know that they're telling me that they believe in God and things like that. But like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You're full of shit. And it's hard to watch as a person who used to be very, very religious because I just feel like I'm watching a bunch of people like bullshit. But, also I'm an atheist. So I think to me, it kind of is all that. So, but yeah, I think that one of the worst things these people could have done if Christianity were to survive is to marry it to this shit that they're doing right now. There's stuff that's going to happen that's going to impact all of us for many, 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 many years to come. And unfortunately, they're just going to let it because they want to be part of the story. That's kind of what I'm getting the sense of. They want to be part of the story. They need to be the center of it. They want to be, Trump wants to be in the White House when the rapture happens. And so, if we all end up having nuclear war because like, that's what he wants to happen, it's just going to happen, and it's all going to be self-inflicted. It's all going to be self-inflicted. And I hate the fact that if we all suffer, it's going to be because they wanted us to.